The USC School of Education and Michigan's Department of Health and Human Services both came out publicly against the use of the word field.
Wait.
Okay.
Field.
Okay. Here we go.
Wait, are we talking about sports or are we talking about disciplines?
Disciplines and offices. And, yeah. Yeah, you could show my screen. This is the
I
US.
said field yesterday, and you told me this was going to come up.
Yeah,
That was not okay anymore.
This is the
It
USC.
does not properly honor people who live in forests and on coastlines. Field.
The I don't even know who she is. The someone. No, this is the name of the school. Sorry, the School of Social Work at USC has sent to everyone associated, the community, the faculty, staff, and students. As we enter 2023, we'd like to share a change we're making at the Suzanne Dvorak, I don't know. That's not how you would spell Dvorak. Doesn't matter. School of Social Work to ensure our use of inclusive language and practice. Specifically, we have decided to remove the term field from our curriculum and practice and replace it with practicum. This change supports anti-racist social work practice by replacing language that could be considered anti-Black or anti-immigrant in favor of inclusive language. Language can be powerful. And phrases such as going into the field or field work may have connotations for descendants of slavery and immigrant workers that are not benign.
Oh my goodness.
Well, give me my screen back. Sorry, man. The Michigan's Department of Health and Human Services, so that was private university. This is now the state of Michigan. You don't show my screen. I just got a quote here. As an agency, we will be discontinuing use of terms like fieldwork and field workers. Instead, staff can use terms like community office, local office, and community local office staff. Also,
Yes.
this week I propose to you that we not call gibberish that is actually directed and not indicative of a schizophrenic break word salad, but word soup. That's word soup.
Yeah, that's some hearty word soup.
Yeah.
Here's the question. I understand that is a weapon that you could use against somebody speaking the English, right? Like if you were to just try to say something, then the chances that you will literally have missed a memo that tells you why you're not supposed to have used that term for this thing, right? Chances are near certain.
So, presumably.
Yeah.
And I've seen no explanation beyond a little bit more than what I've shared with you here. Presumably, this is about the historical use of the word field to distinguish between house and field slaves, I think.
Wait.
And, and slave isn't the word that was used, right? But if that is the case, which is the best I can do, like this is the best I can figure in terms of like how this word comes to be in the line of the firing squad here, certainly house is equally bad.
Right.
Equally dangerous, or hurtful. Hurtful.
You must have missed that memo.
Yeah, apparently.
But I mean, really,
the
yes? Point is, as you speak, you can be certain that you are in violation of a memo.
Mm-hmm. Somewhere,
right?
Somehow. Yeah.
Which will not be a problem unless something decides that you are inconvenient, in which case it will become a problem.
It's a low posted speed limit.
It is a low posted.
It's woke version.
Right. And all of their little traps are this way. Mm-hmm. But what is impossible to imagine, first of all, this isn't how language works. It just isn't how language works.
By fiat.
Right, by fiat.
We won't be using the word field anymore.
Right. Or the word fiat.
You have a problem with that? Or the word fiat?
Yes.
Because it's also a car? Like, I don't know what.
I don't know either. I don't know. Italian, Mussolini, trauma, something, right? But
so, I mean, we also, like, we've been field workers, right? Like, we're field biologists. We're not community office biologists, right? Like, we're field biologists, as distinguished from lab biologists, not as distinguished from house biologists, because that's not what you do in biology. It's field versus lab. And that doesn't have a history of racism. And
You can't say lab. You know why?
Why?
Because of Labrador, which is
The
stolen
island
land.
or the island? Island?
The province.
Yes.
Yes.
Not
Well, it's stolen land.
Okay.
No, look. I believe the kids call this problematizing things. You turn them into problems. We can turn anything into a problem. And the point is,
we can go all day.
this is really about the power to put out the memos that then allow you to dictate who is no longer allowed to talk. But what is inconceivable is that anybody could be keeping track of all of the things that you are not supposed to say. I mean, maybe if that was your full-time job, you could keep track of the things you're not allowed to say.
Well, the problem in part is that it's many people's full-time jobs to come up with the damn memos.
Right.
Clearly.
It's an arms
Right?
race.
You got DEI offices everywhere now, and they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs because they were hired on false pretenses. And at Stanford, which we talked about a few weeks ago, and at USC and at Michigan Health and Human Services, they're like, oh, I know, I'll be proactive and come up with a job. I'm gonna outlaw a word. That's what I'm gonna do. My work here is done.
Yes,
until tomorrow, at which point I'll figure out the other words that I need to outlaw.
Right, and the offices they're not in good communication, so it turns out that silence is violence and speech is violence, which doesn't leave you a lot of room.
No, it's again useful because you can go after anyone,
anybody
anytime.
at any time for anything they might be doing or not doing.
Yeah, don't say that. And how dare you not?
How dare you?
Speak
Yeah,
up.
your silence is deafening. Right? It's that world. But can you imagine for a second the prototypical person who is trying to be good and not offend anybody by not using words like field or house or whatever the next problematized word is going to be, right? Okay. So you are filtering everything you say so that you don't trip over any of these words by speaking in the way people normally speak, where they don't parse everything in advance, right? Now, imagine that person has another job. Are they able to do that other job while they are so busy looking at every utterance to see whether or not there has been a memo that says that they're not allowed to say that thing? My sense is if you did this, if you took that seriously, that's all you are, is not going to do that thing. So
that becomes your full-time job.
And you probably won't be able to do it even then, right? Especially if the memos keep coming out.
It's like we recently talked about in God's sake, I can't remember the World War II book.
I should know.
Yeah, no, I'm just drawing a complete blank. Doesn't matter.
All right. Well, suffice it to say, this needs to be studied, and that's going to require a field.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot more I wanted to say here, but let's move on. When we talked about the Stanford words,
yep,
you could kind of imagine what they thought they were up to in each of the cases, and it was everywhere from silly to egregious. But one of my favorite ones was like, you shouldn't use the word seminal because it makes people think of semen. I don't know, it
right.
It unfairly genderizes stuff. Whatever. At least there's a there there. Like, that's stupid. Don't stop it. But at least you can sort of track back. Like, oh, I guess I see what they're doing. Right. Have they literally never run into anyone who works in the field, who does field work, who I just fail to grasp how they could have ever left the bedroom that they grew up from and spent their entire childhood on social media, presumably. It feels so narrow and so so atrocious a life to be putting out memos like this.
Right, it is. It's an empty existence, but
Catch-22. That's the novel.
That's the one.
Yes,
it's some catch.
Well, no, it's the when the guy keeps coming out the memos and the memos and the memos and no one can keep up.
The Great Loyalty Oath campaign.
yeah, exactly. It's that thing all over again.
It's that thing.
Yeah.
But look, this once again, of course, is sophistry. And imagine for a second that it was an analog of the social media game, right? Where the idea is, can I put something out on a social media platform that gets engagement or anger or reposted or whatever, right? And to the extent that you can't, you are shouting into a void. It's no fun. It's frustrating. And to the extent that you put something into the world that makes a ripple, you get a little something, right? So now imagine that you have a serious bureaucracy that its purpose is to protect Stanford so that Stanford will continue to stand indefinitely, right? And the point is, you can use your own demographic markers to introduce anything you want into the conversation to see if you can make them jump, right? And it's like, you know that word field? It's not a good word. You know, there are a lot of us out here who every time we hear that, we are traumatized. Do you know why? Well, of course we do, but we'd like to hear you elaborate on this. Yeah, field, right. Explain the problem of field. Well, do you know where slaves worked? Got it. Field. Memo, right? And so how cool a game is that you can get
I mean, in a world in which you are otherwise unempowered,
right,
disempowered, because the world is crazy, and maybe also because you have no skills, what a power rush.
Sure.
What a rush to be able to affect change
like
this.
Okay, but let's just... Some of these people are just monsters. Mm-hmm. But some of these
Most of them aren't, though.
Most of them aren't. But you can imagine. I mean, look, okay, let's take all things pandemic, okay? Whatever else is true, whoever you happen to be, you were just served so poorly by the civilization that, taxes you and regulates you and all of this. You were just, you were, the level at which you were protected was beyond abysmal, right? Mm-hmm. And you have no power to affect change. There's nobody to vote for, right? It's just like endless monotony and trying not to, go to jail. And the point is, well, I guess my point is, I can imagine, look, the distaste that the dysfunction of our civilization would naturally produce in anybody who was paying attention is liable to have an outgrowth. And if the outgrowth is, all right, I mean, the class clown, right? The class clown has figured out something that's at least interesting, right? The class clown has figured out that maybe there's nothing for him in that room unless he can turn that room into a comedy opportunity, and then that's it. That's amusing. You can get a room full of people to laugh, and then you can watch the teacher pull their hair out, and so it's that kind of thing. And I can't.
It is that kind of play. Yep.
Yeah, and so I hate the monsters who don't care about the harm that they do to innocent people, but I understand the person who is bored and annoyed that they have been given no good path to anything useful and expected just to suck it up, right? Mm-hmm. I understand that person looking for opportunities to, for hijinks, and to the extent that might be hijinks, I don't know.
Well, and that's, to take it back a little bit, that's part of why, I guess mostly in the summer of 2020, we were coming down so hard on the Ibram X. Kendis and whatever her name is, white fragility lady.
Crenshaw?
DAngelo?
Oh.
DAngelo.
Yeah.
Kendi, who wrote Anti-Racist, or How to Be an Anti-Racist, or Anti-Racist Baby, or all of those things, right? But both of them, from their different perches as a black man and a white woman, were proclaiming racism everywhere and the need for effectively reparations in every single moment of every single day for every single human being who can't claim to have been oppressed in this one very particular demographic way.
Yep.
Right? And it opens up this apparent avenue for people who never would have seen it as an avenue and wouldn't have been encouraged to take it, but for the fact that suddenly, especially in an era when there's so little opportunity and so much is falling apart, it's like, well, okay, smart enough. I can get stuff done, and I've got this one little demographic marker of some sort, and it doesn't be any number of things. And guess who is hiring? All the DEI offices, because everyone's got DEI offices now.
Yeah, it's an affirmative action program, a cryptic one.
Well, but I don't. No, I'm not. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. It's you funnel, you encourage people, and this is part of what I've been saying about part of what the trans rights activists are about. As opposed to like the very, very rare true trans people, but trans is on the rise in part because it's the one of these demographic markers that you can opt into, and just one day you're like, yep, that's me. And now all those same DEI offices that are, the only people they're not open to are, straight white dudes who were born dudes and are still dudes. Right. And, that's, less than a majority. And you have, I would say it's not affirmative action. It's a jobs program.
It's a jobs program. Yeah. It's a make work jobs program, right? There's no real work to be done. Right? We all understand that a colorblind society is desirable and that we're not quite there. But it's not like you need people to studiously figure out what to do about all of the interactions and words that people might say without permission and all of that. But the problem is it's exactly analogous to the postmodernists, right? That by providing a foot in the door for postmodernism, the postmodernists were incubated and became postmodern activists that took over the universities. And by creating a DEI program, the point is, they sure are going to find some stuff to complain about because that's effectively what you've appointed them to do. Well,
and once it exists, everyone will work to try to ensure that their job stays relevant enough for them to keep a job.
Yeah.
And so, and this is something we've been talking about since Evergreen blew up, right? Like it's very hard to convince people whose professional position is things have always sucked, things continue to suck, and things will not stop sucking. That, actually things are getting better, and therefore we need less of the constant talk about sucking now. Because, well, what am I supposed to do then? That's what I do. That's what I do is I talk about how awful everything is. So I am actually not maybe even able anymore to see that things in some realms are getting better because that would put me out of a job.